Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. My name is Chris Daughtery. Appreciate you guys joining us for today's show. We're going to do our preview today for Alabama versus LSU. I'll also give some keys to victory at the end of the show, and at the beginning of the show, we'll talk about some of those LSU injuries that Brian Kelly talked about during his press conference on Monday. Alabama now a 3-point favorite in this game. Opened up, they're a 2.5-point favorite. Now it's gone up half a point. That over-under has also gone up one total point in this game. So we'll see what happens. College game day for this game this week. So this game is always, very close, especially going down to Baton Rouge. Both teams always coming off a bye, so you're going to get the best of both teams. But we'll see what happens. LSU does have a couple guys banged up that we are definitely going to keep an eye on. We'll talk about it all on today's show. But first, I want everybody to get in the comment section. Who you got in this one? Type A if you got Alabama, or type L if you have LSU. There's going to be a couple thousand people that watch this video. I want a couple thousand A's in the comments. Look, everybody should go down there and comment A if you have the Crimson Tide winning this ball game. First up on today's show, we're going to get into some of these injuries for LSU that we need to really keep a lookout on coming up for this game. First up, Garrett Dillinger, starting left guard for LSU. He is going to be out for this game. He had tightrope surgery on his ankle that he sprained a couple of weeks ago, and so he will be out for this game. We know that tightrope surgery, a lot of the times, it takes a couple of weeks. He had it at the beginning of the week on that bye week, so he had 1 week to really get do all the things that he needs to do to get ready. If you remember back when Tua had his tightrope surgery, it was at the same time, and he was able to play in this LSU game. But, a little bit different positions. It's an offensive lineman. Tua is a quarterback, and actually Tua was able to run decently well after that tightrope surgery. But this is a decent loss for LSU along a very, very good offensive line that they have. They've only allowed 4 sacks so far in this entire season. So replacing Dillinger is going to be Paul Mubinga, I think is how you pronounce his name. Either way, he's going to be playing left guard for them. He's played a little bit so far this year. He has given up one of the 4 sacks from LSU's offensive line. He's played 91 snaps for them. So, Brian Kelly really talked glowingly about his development as a player during his press conference yesterday, really talking about the fact that, it's really the physical part of everything that he needs to get caught up on, not so much of the, mental game. He feels very confident about that. This is what Brian Kelly said about Paul. He said, Paul has steadily worked himself into a key backup, somebody that is poised to go in a pivotal time, and you expect him to get the job done. He's now a starter for us for likely at least this week. His development has been one where he's made his most progress through execution. He's a quick study, and you don't have to tell him twice. This has been more about the physical development, more so than about the mental abilities, to picking things up. So, LSU's offensive line going to be banged up at that left guard spot. We'll see how Paul is able to, really progress going into this game. Injury number 2 here, C.J. Daniels. Brian Kelly didn't technically say probable, but the way he worded things, it sounds like he's going to be good to go for this game. He tried to go for that Texas A&M game, couldn't go. He's been battling through a knee injury that's been bothering him. Brian Kelly also said, the extra week in between games has him in a, quote, much better spot to play against Alabama than he was against Texas A&M. And look, this is a guy that I think they can really rely on if he is able to go out there and, really, make an impact for them. 29 receptions so far this season for LSU for 342 yards. He is their number 4 wide receiver on their team. So, it's just one of those levels. It's just another thing that, LSU, they need all their playmakers. We know Aaron Anderson was at Alabama a couple years ago, transferred to LSU, which really sucks because I really like Aaron Anderson. If you remember last year during that LSU game, after the game, Nick Saban actually went up to him and was like, yo, man, you would be playing more if you were right here at Alabama than you would be at LSU. But The patience has really paid off for Aaron Anderson. Kyron Lacey, also very good for LSU. So we'll see about CJ Daniels, but it does sound like he's going to be able to go this week for the LSU Tigers. And do not forget, we will be live for Alabama versus LSU for our Week 11 watch party. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Do not miss out. Come and join. Hang out with us at youtube.com/@RollTideTV. Another wide receiver banged up for LSU. It's going to be Chris Hilton. And he's a guy that hasn't played for LSU, or actually, I'll rephrase that. He made his debut for LSU this season last week versus Texas A&M. He's been dealing with an ankle injury since fall camp back in August for LSU. And what's kind of, comical about this, he has actually been listed as day-to-day for months now. So, I mean, he made 2 receptions for 36 yards against Texas A&M in that game. But last year, in 11 games, he had 13 targets for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. So we'll see what he can do. He's a guy that I think he was a former 4-star top 100 athlete coming out of high school. So he is definitely somebody that they want to get in the mix. They want him to get in the rotation. And because he hasn't played so far, a lot this year, like I said, he made his debut versus Texas A&M. Maybe he is one of those guys that can come in, kind of catch Alabama off guard. Hopefully those DBs for Alabama can make sure everybody stays locked up. We'll talk about that later in today's show. But definitely we want to keep an eye on Chris Hilton Jr. coming up this weekend. All right, the 4th player on this injury report for LSU is going to be linebacker West Weeks. And I'll be honest, him and Whit Weeks have been confusing the hell out of me. I've been getting their names wrong, flipping them back and forth and everything like that. But West Weeks will be out for LSU. Now, he is not technically out for the season for LSU, but according to Brian Kelly, he's still got another season of eligibility, so they're trying to remain that. Maybe they could possibly medical redshirt him, but Whit Weeks will be the starting linebacker for LSU. He's been in there, and he's the leading tackler for LSU at that linebacker spot. And look, I mean, their linebackers have played pretty well for them so far this season. He's got 7 TFLs. That is very, very good. And you look also at a guy like Harold Perkins Jr. He tore his ACL back in week 4 during that UCLA game. So unfortunately, he will not be out there for LSU. Probably fortunate for Bama, but very unfortunate for a very, very talented player. So, the linebackers for LSU, very good players. We'll see if Alabama can really contain them going into this game coming up this weekend against LSU Tigers. And before we get to our keys to victory, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, Game Time. Look, Game Time is the only ticketing app that I use. Game Time has a new feature now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks is just curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything in between. Game Time has killer last-minute deals. They have all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time even has ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It's game time. All right, we're going to go to some keys to victory for Alabama here now on today's show. Key to victory number 1, the offensive line has to cook in this game. They have to play their best game of the season if Alabama wants to go out there and have a chance to win this game. I know I have harped on the offensive line a lot so far this season. I don't think there's any bigger game than this one coming up because LSU has some absolute dogs. We just talked about those linebackers. They also have a dog in Braden Swinson at that edge rusher spot. He has 10.5 tackles for loss so far this year, 34 pressures, those tackles for loss, is good for 4th in the SEC. So a very, very good ball player. And when you talk about Jalen Milroe under pressure, this is really when we really get worried about Jalen Milroe, right? Less than 50% completion percentage. You look at that 32.1% drop back pressure percentage, and basically what that means is out of the 234 total dropbacks that Jalen Milroe has had this year, 75 of those he has been under pressure. So that equals about 32.1%, and on 14 or on 75 of those he's been sacked 14 times. So look, Jalen Milroe, I want him to go read 1, read 2. If they're not there, get the F out of the pocket. Use your legs, because that's what he is so good at. And look, if this offensive line is struggling, that is something that Jalen Milroe can really take advantage of. And there's 2 guys along the offensive line that I've been harping on a lot, and I just really need a big-time performance out of these guys. We'll give a little bit of some grace to Jaden Roberts. He's been playing banged up all season long. Had that hand surgery at the beginning of the year, and I do think he's been playing with some more stuff than that hand surgery. But you see there, he's still playing better than Elijah Pritchett, the guy right beside him. Look, Elijah Pritchett needs to be a whole lot better than he has been. He needs to, stay balanced. He can't get extended, or he can't let the defender get into him, When he gets out on the balls of his feet, that's really when Elijah Pritchett gets beat a lot. And look, man, when it comes to the PFF grade, he hasn't been good, run blocking or pass blocking. So I really need a big game out of both of these guys. The offensive line as a whole, because look, this season Alabama has allowed 17 sacks and 47 tackles for loss in 8 games. That's just not very good, and I need these guys to play a whole lot better if Alabama wants to get Jalen Milroe going. If they want to get the run game going, they are going to have to give him time, and they're going to have to be firing off the ball when it comes to the run game as well. So what is your confidence level in Alabama's offensive line? They had a pretty good game against Missouri a couple of weeks ago, but that's really probably been their best game of the season, so really need these guys to step up. Let me know how you feel. Scale it for me 1 to 10 in the comment section right now. Key to victory number 2 for Alabama. Look, it just is what it is. Jalen Milroe is going to have to outplay Garrett Nussmeier in this game. And I think he can do that. Whether or not he does, whether or not he will, I don't know. I guess we will see about that. Look, one of our main draft hosts here, Tom Downey, when he talks about Garrett Nussmeier, there's a lot of positive traits that he really likes. He sees the field, he processes the field, pretty quickly, pretty well. But at least once or twice a game, he does this thing where he calls it the bozo gene. He just does things where you're like, what the hell are you doing, Garrett? You see right there, 9 interceptions for him. You talk about that game last week versus Texas A&M. He was trying to get the ball out to the running back, and he just threw it right to a defensive lineman. So, there's those things for Garrett Nussmeier that people really do like. He's thrown for over 2,600 yards so far this year. And out of the 23 total touchdowns, 20 of those are passing touchdowns. So, when you look the comparison of Jalen Milroe, I think it's about half and half for him rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns. So 2 very, very different players. And Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that's going to take advantage of matchups and, sling the ball all over the field. So I need this secondary also. You can add this to the keys to victory as well. Alabama's secondary really needs to play one of their best games of the season this year because, like I said, LSU is going to try to take advantage of them. They're going to try to take advantage of guys like Zabian Brown. We'll see if they try to go after Bray Hubbard. I thought he played really, really well last weekend versus Missouri, and Alabama's defense has been playing very good. I think they've got 14 turnovers in the last couple of weeks or something like that. So hopefully they can do that as well in this game. And look, going back to Jalen Milroe, one of the things that we saw last year in that game was his ability to run the ball. 155 yards rushing. I don't think he's had a game like that since. So 4 rushing touchdowns. Look, he only threw the ball for 219 yards. I can take that. Jalen Milroe does not have to go out there and throw for 400 yards to win this ball game. He just has to make good decisions, whether that's in the passing game or in the running game. And look, last year Alabama also rushed for a total of 288 yards in that game. Maybe. I think Alabama has better running backs this year, so hopefully they can get that running game going as well in this game. Because you saw LSU was not able to stop the run against Texas A&M. Now, there's a little bit of weird stuff with Texas A&M's quarterback. They didn't prepare for him, yada, 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 all that stuff. But I do think Alabama can take advantage in the run game against LSU. All right, key to victory number 3 here. I want Alabama to limit the costly mistakes on the road. This is going to be a crazy environment. You got these LSU fans. They're going to have all day to tailgate. You got College GameDay there, so they're going to be fired up for that. It is a night game. So what are some of these possible mistakes that Alabama makes, not even on occasion? They've been making them kind of a lot lately. The pre-snap penalties. My God. Guys, let's get lined up right. No false starts. Maybe one in the game. You can maybe take one false start in the game, maybe 2. But that's the kind of shit that has been killing Alabama all year long. Excuse me. And really for the past couple of years as well. The crowd environment is crazy. So the communication errors, that's something that we've seen from Alabama, whether that is, getting the play in correctly, communicating to the offensive line, if it's audibles, things like that. Alabama has really struggled on the road. You saw it in that Tennessee game. A couple of times you had delay of games in that game. So those are definitely things that can very, very much annoy you in a game with this kind of magnitude. Drive extending penalties. How many times have we seen on the defensive side of the ball, Alabama's been able to get off the field on 3rd or 4th down, and then they just have a stupid penalty that extends drives? Look, I want you to get after Garrett Nussmeier, but God forbid you make any kind of contact with him after he throws the ball. We've seen multiple penalties on guys like Quandarius Robinson who come in, they're trying to be aggressive, trying to make a play, and, gets his hands up, try to get a PBU, knock the ball down at the line of scrimmage, and they end up, brushing the quarterback's face mask, and you get a 15-yard penalty for that. That has happened multiple times this year. Once you get off the field on 3rd down, make a play on 3rd down, you can't have those stupid penalties. And also, after the play penalties, personal fouls, things like that. We've seen that from Alabama so far this year, so they really need to limit that. Also, win the turnover battle. This comes down to Jalen Milroe versus Garrett Nussmeier as well. Jalen Milroe has to go out there. He cannot put the ball on the ground. He cannot throw the ball to the other team, because those are the things that are going to win this game for somebody. And going to my score prediction here, I do think Alabama will win this game 45-38. I think a lot of it is going to be Alabama's defense is going to force a couple of turnovers in this game. And I think it's going to come down to the wire, honestly. I think both offenses are going to eat. I think LSU's offense is really going to, take advantage of some situations. We've seen Xavier Brown. He's gone out there. He's gotten beat a lot so far this year, but it's only really been a handful of times when quarterbacks have been able to go out there and actually make the throw. We've seen it a lot this year where our DBs have gotten burnt and the quarterbacks for the other team have just not been able to make the throw. I think Garrett Nussmeier is probably one of the better, more accurate quarterbacks that we've seen so far this year. Even guys like Carson Beck missed a lot of throws in that game versus Georgia as well, especially in the first half. So we'll see what happens, but I think Alabama wins this one 45-38. Let me know your score prediction as well in the comment section. Predict Alabama versus LSU. Let me know how you guys feel right now.